Hello, everyone, and welcome to Time for Art. Hershey, our fearless host, is running just a little bit behind today. So we're going to get started without him, even though we miss him. And today we are painting the beach scene with the starfish, and it is kind of graphic and definitely, if you haven't been to the beach yet this year, before summer's up, I think it's a good idea. So that's what we're going to do today. You are going to need your graphite paper, your brushes, a pencil, your white, plus your burnt umber, yellow ochre, and cerulean, something to hinge your template to your canvas panel with, your palettes, and your reference. So let's get started. If for whatever reason you have never hinged a template outline to your canvas panel, here's how we do it. We provide labels. If you don't have labels, or if you lost your labels, not a big deal. We will, or you can use tape. Really, you can use anything. Just you're gonna want to make sure these are going to be secure. And you're just going to hinge these just like this, leaving some excess, folding over so that your outline, I'm just going to make sure we're in frame here. Looks a little better. Let's see this whole thing now. A little bit more. Your outline is hinged to your canvas panel. And if you want to comment, I can't see them, but when Hershey gets here, he will go through them and say hi, everybody. And because we absolutely love hearing from you. So here is your outline hinged to your canvas panel. And we are going to tuck sticky, shiny, waxy side down your graphite paper underneath the outline, just like that. And if it is your first time or if it's not, this is when we are going to transfer our line. And you just basically take your pencil or anything that you have that can apply pressure and just follow the outlines of the template around like this. Just like that. And at this point, I'm going to get some big lines in first. And we drew this on Monday. So kind of know where my big lines are. It's going to be this line, which is the shoreline, this line, get in some of our wave lines, just like that, our horizon line. Like that. These are our cloud lines. And then the noise marks, we talked a little bit about what noise was. Just kind of extra marks that you can kind of emphasize or de-emphasize, but less important. I'm just going to kind of do a once over on the noise. And I talked a little bit about this before, but this month we're doing these kind of more stylized graphic paintings. And so even the noise, which is these kind of amorphous, scribbly lines, we're going to treat kind of graphically, which I'm kind of excited to show you how to do. Filling these in. Just like this. You don't have to get all of them, but I've actually found that it is helpful to make some marks, and then that decision making is kind of done for you. So what I get out of this is kind of where my noise marks are going to be. And then I'm going to lift up my template and see if I missed anything. And that's looking pretty good for this point. So I'm going to keep this right here in case we need it again. And we're going to get out our palette. And I think we're going to use all of our brushes today. And the first thing I'm going to do, because I want to get organized, and we don't always do this, but we're going to for this painting, is we're going to get out our cerulean. And the first thing I'm going to do is just put in a wash. A wash is a watery layer where we water down our paint. Just like this. And we brush this in. I'm going to go right over the clouds. I'm not going to worry about that. So this is just going to tell me where Hershey Petty is here. The man, the myth, the legend.
Hi, how's it going?
Well, not as good. Not as good as with you. I don't know what to say. I'm sure everybody's excited to see Hershey.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us today. Sorry I'm late. Where are we at, Al?
I'm washing in the sky.
Okay, cool.
That's where I am with things. But like 5 minutes, not bad, my friend.
I know. I thought it was gonna be later, but I really pulled it off, I think. So, yeah.
And that's one of the many reasons we love Hershey Petty, right? So I've just got in our sky, and we're gonna go completely over our clouds because
we can.
Because we can. Well, and if you think about it, clouds are in front of sky, so the sky should be peeking out behind the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's kind of a good thing to do. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take out our burnt umber and put in a drop of that into one of our wells. And our cerulean, kind of equal parts there. And we're going to make a wash of that.
Okay.
And that is going to be what we fill in our water with.
Say that one more time. It's cerulean and what now?
Cerulean and
umber. Yeah.
Burnt umber. And it's going to make this kind of, because the burnt umber has some yellow in it, it actually turns it a touch greener if you're really looking, and darker. And it's one of my favorite colors. It kind of looks like the bottom of the ocean or lake, depending on where you spend more of your time. For me, it's lakes.
Say hello.
Just like this. So Hershey had an inspection. How did it go?
It went great.
Okay.
Great. And, of course, it's like, oh, the window's from 1 to 4. And that, of course, means he got there right like 2 minutes before 4. So,
right.
But
yeah.
I started to go. I was telling him about what I needed to do, why I needed to get, I told him about Time for Art. And he was so interested. And I was laughing to myself on my way home because I was like, I don't have time to tell you all about it. So
subscribe. What can I say?
Yeah, exactly. You're too interested. Yeah.
Thanks. But yeah. Okay. And so I'm actually even just for the same purpose, again, where you spend more of your time for the same kind of purpose of the clouds in front of the sky. I'm gonna go right over the wave, the white part of the wave, because that should be kind of sitting over the we want that to peek through. So that gets that in there. And then the next thing we're going to do is just with our yellow ochre, and we're actually going to put a little bit of white in this wash. And maybe technically it's not exactly a wash anymore, but we want this to look a little bit milky. But we still want to see our marks through it, and we will. So with a drop of white and kind of a double drop of yellow ochre, we're going to get this going. And it's this beautiful peanut butter color.
I love that we're using the peanut butter color in the ocean.
Right? Obviously. What else would you use? Gosh. Yeah. And so that's going to even go over where this brown area is. So we're just going to fill this in. We want to get all the holes. I know we made this announcement last week, but I just want to make it again. There will not be a September box. There will be September live streams, but we're going to be using stuff you already have. We're going to be talking to you. We're going to be doing some giveaways. It's going to be really, really fun. There's just not going to be a September box. And then starting in October is the 2.0 box.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
I know. I mean, I'm so excited about what our paintings are going to be. And they're just, it's a really cool adjustment. I'm also, if everyone's looking, I'm going right over the starfish. No need to be careful around that. In fact, we'd like our, all the little holes, pores to be filled in there as well.
Are you gonna, how far down are you gonna go with that? All the way, huh?
Okay. Oh yeah.
Right, okay.
We're just getting the whole thing in. But one of the things that, because we're spending 2 nights a week on a painting,
yeah,
same size, one more color. Well, depending on, we use usually 4 colors a painting. There's some I think that only have 3, like a few. Actually, that's not true. And then there's a portrait series. 2 months you're going to get portraits, and those are just 1 color plus white.
I mean, I don't know if anybody else out there is so excited about the portraits, but you know, if you've been following my House of Windsor, you know that I am a portrait drawer. I'm practiced all like nobody's business.
Exactly. So for all of those reasons, but one of the things I'm really excited about is just some like underpainting and some things that I've kind of, I don't want to say skipped over, but we do kind of quick paintings here. We do 1-hour paintings here.
Yeah.
Since we're going to be doing 2-hour paintings and letting them dry in between, there's all these other components to the way I put together paintings that I'm going to get to share with everybody, just because we're spending another night on them. And it's, yeah, and it's just going to be more relaxing. And then if you miss it, or you're kind of doing something out of order, just watch it, you know, like I used to get kind of worried about that. Not anymore. Like, yeah, it's, you know, we'll do part 1, part 2. We'll be really good about labeling it. And our big marketing efforts are going to happen. And it's just, thank you all so much for hanging with us and watching and subscribing and painting with us, because we were finally at a place where we get to really launch this the way we wanted to. And we're just super excited about it. Okay, back to painting.
It really does feel like taking our art to the next level when we're going to be doing paintings, multiple stages, and learning. Like, that's so great.
Yes, it's just it's everything I wanted it to be. And so it's a really exciting thing. But white, we're gonna kind of wash in our whites, but because our white's more heavy bodied, it's gonna go on a little thicker. So I'm kind of breaking up this white into kind of a slurry, and then we're gonna paint this in here. Just like this.
Were we a little willy-nilly with the lines on the sand during the transfer?
So I talked about that, and the answer is yes. So I first got in the big lines, and that was the sand line, the shadow line, the wave line, and the horizon line. And then I said, it's nice to sometimes have those decisions made for you. Like, this is where I'm going to put all these stray marks. And then at the same time, also, don't worry too much about, yeah.
Thank you.
Where it goes. So, okay, so we're just going to watch this and we're even going to paint over this again, but it's just nice to kind of know. And this is how I paint usually. And since this is such a simple painting, I'm going to put in all these steps. I just kind of do this kind of mapping, one, to get everything covered, because you don't want like your white canvas to like poke out at you because it dried funny as you work.
Yeah. Just
to kind of fill everything in. And then the next thing I'm going to do is this area that is the wave crashing.
I love this, like you said, it's not like a wash it or whatever, but like, it just like puts everything kind of where it's at. You feel like you got a roadmap to finish it up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And if we like to work the painting as a whole, I think Cheryl said holistically.
Yes.
Which I just absolutely love. Which we're gonna include in some of our branding. This is a really just great first step to working the painting as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this in here. This is where the wave is gonna go. We're gonna paint over it again. We're not gonna worry too much about it, but so don't be too precise about it or worry too much about being too precise about it. I'm not gonna do this next one, because we're gonna do the kind of ombre and then we're gonna put the dark on top of it. So I'm gonna kind of leave that alone. I am gonna go ahead and just put in where Starfish is gonna go. Just like this. I know our comments are a little off, Hershey, just because it was me and I couldn't answer them.
Oh, you know what? Actually, maybe they're only showing me from when I logged on, so I can't even see.
That's fine too. Yes. Yeah.
Fine too.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as everybody feels special.
Yes. Ruth, who also lives in Tucson. She was just she's in the comments kind of commiserating with me over the traffic when there's a little bit of rain here in Tucson, which we were getting them on right now. So
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I try and be nice to like places that don't have the greatest weather, because it's like if you don't have the infrastructure, yeah, it's now rain again, but snow. It's like if it snows in Atlanta, they're in trouble.
Yeah, right.
All right. Like they don't have plows there or enough. Okay, so this is our cerulean, right? That I'm just going to keep in here, and I'm going to put a touch, a smidge, a little bit of white into our cerulean, just like this, and that's just to make it a little bit more opaque.
Okay.
And we're going to paint some cerulean up here. And it's going to go on a little bit more opaque. And look, I'm painting right over the cloud. Nothing's precious. Don't worry about it, even though I've already painted it white. But that's just kind of our map that we put down for ourselves.
You're right.
So we're not confused by all the lines on our page. So I'm going to start with that. And I want this to go on nice and thick, but evenly, just like this. And then I'm going to add a little bit more white to that same cerulean. And I'm actually going to start on the bottom, and where they overlap is where they're going to blend. So down here.
And I know why you do that, because we've discussed this a few times in class. Because when the paint dries, it's harder to blend it. So if you start at the two ends and you go to the middle, then you don't have to go back to a paint that's already dry.
Exactly.
So smart.
Exactly. And our paint dries really fast because it's acrylic paint.
Yeah.
Oil paint, take your time. Different thing.
Yeah.
All right. So there is our sky already in. Same thing holds true. And we're going to hang on to this actually for these two. We're going to add a drop, a tinge, a touch of white to what I have left over of our cerulean and burnt umber. And we're going to come back in here like this. And this is going to be our backup tone, just like this. When I say backup tone, I mean the back of the water. And I'm just kind of taking my time. I'm pulling this line. Just like that. And then with what's left over of our cerulean mixture, I'm going to kind of follow this edge of our water.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to kind of give that a minute. Sometimes when I blend things, I kind of want to give it a second to just let it kind of stick to the canvas. So it's not, I'm not just wiping it right off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wash out my brush. And then kind of dry it off. And then I'm going to blend these two. And I'm just kind of running my brush through the paint. Pencil keeps getting in my way.
Is your brush just a little wet?
Yeah, just a little wet. Like I dried it off mostly, but yes.
Okay.
Just back and forth. And I'm looking and I want a little bit of dark along this line again. So I'm going to kind of go back into the back. And hit this line again. And then drag it just like that. And then kind of reinforce that wave line. And I can still kind of see my line, but I'm just going to look to my reference. And just kind of follow that again. How precious is this? Not very.
It's really good.
Getting this in. We talked a little bit about how we're working more graphically this month and stylized. And this is definitely an example of that.
This is a fun painting.
I love it.
Like we've all been somewhere, you know what I mean? We all can relate. We got a mental image in our head of this exact from somewhere.
Yes. And we've done starfish before on Time for Art in our island adventure.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
If this feels familiar, that's why. And so we're just going to kind of leave that like that. Wash out your brush. Next order of business, we're going to take our, and we want enough of this. And this is kind of one of those 1, 2, 3 paintings where you kind of follow the instructions and you get exactly what this is. But I think a lot of these kind of detailed color mixing techniques and keeping it kind of clean is a really good, just really good practice for how kind of a more planned or trying to decide what the better word is. Measured painting can look.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I've mixed kind of equal parts burnt umber and yellow ochre. And we're going to put a drop of white in that. Mix this guy up. Then we're going to take about that much, like a pea's worth, and add some yellow ochre to that. And mix that up. And add a little bit more white. because I've kind of made it darker again with the pigment that we added. Just like that. And these are going to be, this is going to be our ombre tone all the way down. So since this is on my brush, I'm actually going to start with this. And I'm just going to kind of fill all of this in. Again, go right around your starfish.
I love these ombre tones. Do you remember when we first started and we were doing the backgrounds of a lot of paintings that very similar with the similar technique? That was so much fun.
Yeah. And so here we are again. And I think because I've just planned the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Our next set. It's like where my headspace is. I had to wash the paint off my hands to get to do this, to put this paint on my hand. Yeah, this time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more I'm gonna do. I've got one I'm still gonna do tonight before I go to bed. But yeah, it's like we're gonna revisit some of these things over and over again because you kind of can't learn them too many times.
Right.
And that's kind of important. So, okay, so we went bottom up on this one. And it won't feel redundant, I don't think.
No way. No way.
So this is nice. I'm just going to kind of get some water down in here just so that this stays nice and juicy. Then we're going to go into our kind of peanut butter chocolate tone.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go up right against the wave here. And kind of follow this down.
When you look at other people's paintings and whatnot, and you see these kind of color things can you tell that they've done this similar?
So
by looking at a finished product.
So I think most artists do a certain degree of layering. I was very much taught to work the whole at once because you're always using it to inform the rest of your painting.
Right.
And to always safeguard against what my art teacher would call the well-drawn mistake, where you do this beautiful eye and you make it too dark because you aren't looking, or it's in the wrong spot.
Right.
Okay. And so that's why I do it this way. And I think it's a fail-safe way. And I think it's a really good way to work. There are some people I see on Instagram and other places that like really kind of do it by the inch. And it's just not how, I mean, you, I guess, have to sort of really know what it's going to look like in the end or have practiced or I don't know, but it's not how I work. And it's not how I'd suggest anyone work, but there's no wrong way, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I'm going to teach you how I work, but you know.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I can sometimes kind of see the breadcrumbs. And then I think last but not least, just because I'm looking at this and it gets really light, and then we're going to take just some yellow, ochre, and white, and mine's still really nice and wet down here. And so I'm going to just take some of this white that I have. Be a little more white. And I'm going to do just some yellow, ochre, and white at the bottom. If this dried on you or isn't quite what you wanted it to be, you know, or leave it alone. But I just want to run some of this.
Oh, hi, Julie from Crown Point. She's on. She says hello.
Hello.
There is quite a bit of yellow in that, you know, yeah.
So that's where I went with this, is that I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. At the bottom right here, I can still see my starfish through it. All right. So I'm going to call my sand done. Say that I'm still in some holes. I think now I'm looking at things and it's time to put in my clouds. So Take just some straight up white. And I can kind of see where I had it before because we had this kind of masked off. And I'm just painting some white right in. To my clouds. Just like this. And for anyone who's asking, if you are a subscriber, you will be refunded for the month of September since we're not sending anything.
Okay.
And if anyone has any questions about that, please, please, please reach out. That you will not be charged. And if for whatever reason, because sometimes it just it's based kind of on when you signed up to pay.
Okay.
If for whatever reason you've already paid for September, I don't really know how it works. I promise you we will fix it. It is not our intent to charge you.
I'm kind of excited to do a whole month without a box.
That's the thing. We're just going to do, so I'm gone for 1 week and I might actually have some travel the following week too, but we'll still do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It just might not be on the nights we usually do things. We'll let everybody know. And we'll just do some other stuff. Give away some water cups.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love my water cup.
So helpful, right?
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm purposely not cleaning it anymore. I don't know if you guys can see it, but so I thought to myself that it would just become this like just really colorful, beautiful, whatever. And it is now turned into this like pale green mess that is no longer pretty. So I'm gonna have to clean it.
I mean, but it's like that's the evolutions because you're using it. I took a
Yeah.
little bit of blue and added it to some white, and I'm just going to do the tops of these clouds.
To the top.
Yeah. So we're kind of capping them off. Some morning beach scene, the sun is lower than the clouds.
Oh, Ruth wants to know what this month's template challenge is.
It was just paint something, I believe.
Yep, it was anything. Like
Anything.
Just show us what you do.
I love these templates, the peaches and the paddle borders and the
Ruth and I have she's probably gonna kill me that I'm telling you guys. We have like a separate chat on the side. We share some artwork sometimes, and you know, some of it's not for public consumption, and not that it's anything bad or whatever. It's just that, you know, whatever. She just wanted to share it, and so I think this is going to be right up Ruth's alley, an opportunity to just show us what she likes to paint.
Exactly, and that's awesome. Not everything is for the masses.
Yeah, right.
You want to paint. Share it with your friends. I share some of my stuff with Hershey sometimes.
Yeah, and if you look at my art journals, because like I will on like a night where I'm just sitting at home and I want to draw or paint or something, I'll pull out an old art journal and just use some of the old pages. And so they tell such a story, my journal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, so I'm actually going to just kind of do the tops of this wave right now. And I'm just going to kind of like sort of, I was going to say massage in, but it's dry. So I'm just kind of adding this kind of a tapping texture on top of this wave right here.
Ruth wanted to know when the template challenge this month is due, and it'll be due a week from Friday, the 26th.
Yes, exactly. And if you want to use a template, awesome. If not, not a big deal. All right, so I did that. Now, and mine's dry enough to do this, I think. Yeah. We're going to take just some straight up burnt umber. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to that. And I'm going to follow the edge of my wave line. Just like this. Along the edge.
And that's straight up burnt umber.
Straight up burnt umber.
All right.
So I'm going to do like the first pass like this. And then I'm going to kind of reinforce it with even more burnt umber. Might even switch my brush here to something smaller.
A painting that we're gonna let dry and then pick up again. I'm so like, it just feels so grown up.
Well, and we've been kind of listening to the comments and the feedback, which we love. Never going to hurt our feelings. We want to hear it. And just some people have told us that they want to do all the projects, and it sometimes just feels like where we even say it's like you don't need to do all the projects. There's something about there that there's too many choices and too much going on. And so what we're saying to that is we see you, we hear you. And instead, what we're going to do is just spend a little bit more time.
You know, they've done entire studies about that where like too many options can harm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've worked in restaurants, you know.
Yes. Tell the people what they want.
Yeah. They're begging you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can either get out, you can dry it off because we're going to do another pass at this once it's dry. So I'm just going to kind of review what we've got going on in here. We've got our sky in and done. I might add once it dries because we watch paint dry here and we see what it does. Another layer to the clouds, but for the most part, I'm going to leave that alone. We've put in our kind of ombre technique that gets our water in. We've got our wave in. We've got the base tone correctly blended from edge of the water line to the present, and we can still see through, I can at least, my starfish and my kind of noise marks that we're going to reinforce. So you can, where I can't see them quite as well, but I don't know that I need to, are these the sort of noise in the water. So I'm just going to put it in as is. So I'm going to take some burnt umber, and I'm going to actually do more burnt umber than cerulean. Just like that. And mix these guys, no water.
Okay.
So it's even darker, as you can see, than that is. And greener in ways. Isn't it fun when you get like a surprise color you weren't anticipating?
Yes, it is.
And it's because of the yellow in the burnt umber, but when you're like, ooh, we made green somehow. And I am just going to put in, I'm just going to hold my reference. And this is kind of one of these, like, you can transfer it 100 times over if you'd like. That's why it's there. Or we know how to draw here. And I'm just going to put some of these wave marks in. And we're going to change it with the gradient change. So I'm going to switch this. I'm going to add more cerulean to it. So I'm just putting in the far ones right now.
The darkest ones.
The darkest ones with our dark color here.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys did notice, but the you pointed this out to me, Allison, that how the waves, not just the ocean, but the waves change color.
Everything, and so do the noise marks in the sand.
Yep, so did the sand.
Yep. So I'm just putting in a little wave marks through here. And if you look, it's kind of there's some kind of short strokes behind these that I'm going to kind of get in. Just like that. And then some of these in front. So it's kind of 2.5 rows of wave marks. We are also going to be running a promotion for anyone who promotes us to like a friends and family kind of thing. If you refer us, we're going to have something cool for you. So if you can think of anyone who might want this or try it for a few months.
You know, Al, I can say, you know, off camera, you and I have discussed you've mentioned to me just a couple times about how the marketing plans that you and Melissa have come up with and whatnot. And like, I can really see those paying off right now.
Exactly.
You've got a lot of things in the works.
We have a lot in the works. Yes. Okay. So that's kind of that. And then I'm going to take kind of a dollop of this and some more cerulean and mix these guys together.
Roscoe is the loudest eater in the world.
Oh, I can't hear him. How's the baby doing?
He's good. He's really good.
Did you have like a check-in with, do I have that right?
So I've been trying to get one, but they just are like, finally they called me and it was to schedule his operation a week from yesterday.
Right, that's right. That's right.
But there's no check-in. They're just like, I thought it was one, but they're just like, hey, can you bring him this day? Yeah, great. See you. I'm like, okay, bye.
I put this in and it's not quite as dark as I'd like it to be. So I'm adding a little bit more. That's right. It was his operation.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I need to look up, I need to Google but I like, you know, how dogs change once that happens.
They just kind of mellow. They're still themselves.
Yeah.
Marvin was fixed before I got him. So I don't know how, I mean, maybe it was all the neutering. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So this is kind of this pass right here where we have the cerulean mixed into, and I'm just kind of working it back into some of these, our darkest color in here. And then I'm going to add a little even more cerulean, actually mostly cerulean, to this kind of last part. You can see that.
Yes.
We want to dirty it up a little bit. We don't want to look like straight up cerulean. And I'm going to take this right up almost into our crashing white capped wave. Just like this.
Oh, not I could layer right on top of those cap waves.
Yes. Yes. And then if you look, a few of them break into the wave. Kind of come this way with it. And if you don't like freehanding this, it's why your outline's there.
I encourage you all to try it.
Yeah.
The worst that could happen is you let it dry and do it again.
That's our, paint dries.
We know, we watch it.
We know we watch in real time. And there's kind of a long one. And, why do we watch paint dry, Hershey? Because it changes as it dries.
No joke.
So it's not like you have to watch it the whole time, but you kind of keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
It dries.
When you think you've painted over on a part of the canvas and you've got it all covered, and then you go back and you're like, where did those white holes come from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so,
Is that when people cure a canvas or they prime a canvas, whatever the word is for it, is that what they're doing? Is they're making, like, kind of covering those holes?
Certainly it's not the only reason. So remember, painting's like old as dirt, right? And
Yeah.
so if you wanted, and if you were applying oil to canvas, and I mean, you were mixing these pigments maybe from the garden or something like that, or metals or things like that,
Oh.
your canvas would rot if you didn't prime it first, right? So really, in the modern day, why you prime something is just to make it the best surface possible for painting.
Okay.
And yeah, there's things that could go wrong, especially with different, kinds of, paint techniques and things like that. So that's why you prime it. These come pre-primed, which is why we don't have to prime it. You might want to use gesso if you still want to, just if you want a really thirsty surface, so to speak. But it's to fill in the holes is just a good thing to do, so that what we know about especially acrylic paint is that it shrinks up as it dries, and then you don't get some rogue canvas peeking out through your layers. So I just dipped right back into our burnt umber, and I'm just going to kind of reinforce this edge again. Speaking of paint that's dried, because I want this to be even more high contrast.
You have to hear that.
Yeah, but painting is rooted in such so far deep in history, and that's where some of the names come from, and
I think I kind of forgot about that. How old? You're right. It is old as dirt.
So old. It's not as old as sculpture. Sculpture. Well, the cave paintings were probably around, but there's traditional painting is a lot younger than sculpture. Like perspective came out of the Dark Ages.
Right.
And there was, classics before that. So, all right, we got this in. Got our shadow here. That looks good. Now, the next thing I'm going to kind of get in, because I can see my starfish in here, and I'm going to take some of that really dark tone that we put into our waves. I'm going to start with that and kind of first coat underneath where my starfish is going to go.
Okay.
So I'm looking to put in this drop shadow, and I want it to dry because I want it to be warmer, but I want it to be this dark. So we're going to put in this cooler, darker tone, and then we're going to put a layer of the burnt umber right over it.
This is for the shadow?
The shadow underneath
the
starfish.
One stroke out, one stroke done. So good.
Right? Practice pulling lines here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is forever, whatever reason, your first time. It's always easier to pull a line than it is to push a line. We'll have some like worksheets and practice there's going to be stuff to do that with in our next kind of 2.0 version that we're super, super excited about. So there's that. All right. So the noise
Yes.
in our beach scene. Back to these two colors right in here.
Mhm.
This one's going to be mostly burnt umber. So burnt umber, a touch of yellow. So, well, like a pea's worth, 2/3 burnt umber, 1/3 yellow ochre. Just like this. And some white.
Oh, Julie chimed in from Crown Point. She said that it's looking beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And then over here, we're going to take some of that and add just some yellow ochre to that. Just like that. And I've got some white on the palette here, and that's good because I want to make this a little bit more opaque. So these are our two colors. And I'm going to start with this one in the foreground and just kind of hit all these little stray marks. That we transferred before. I can see them through in the event that you want to retransfer them. As always, knock yourself out.
I might need to do that.
So I can see mine through, but I might have had a heavier hand when I transferred. Just like this.
Oh yeah, you know what? I just noticed those little white caps that you have in the like far off in the ocean.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Well, thank you.
Looks great. I can't wait to copy it.
I'm just kind of working.
Oh yes, Julie goes, it reminds me of the days in Laguna, and I concur.
Oh, that was the best. Where we
Was.
all stayed right next to each other, and
Yes.
Hershey will have to go to the beach.
Oh heck yeah.
Stay in Long Beach.
You know, I've said this before on here, and I'm going to say it one more time. Where is Sean Crary?
Where is Sean Crary? Sean Crary is going to be coaching that weekend.
I know, and you know what? You gave me his rundown the last time I asked, but I want to see him in the comment section one time.
It would be. We should invite him to comment. We should invite him to paint. Is what we should do.
That's exactly right. Anybody who sees Sean Crary on a regular basis, I want you to let him know that I've made 2 requests for his presence in the comment section.
Okay, so I'm just kind of hitting these like this, and we might second coat these again, depending on how they dry, because we watch paint dry here. And then I'm gonna kind of, with some of this on my brush, kind of dig, like kind of mix these guys.
Which ones?
With my darker tone here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna kind of transition to darker. Kind of in these in-betweens.
Yep.
I can coat some of them with the darker one. Laguna was almost a year ago. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
We're approaching that mark.
Crazy. What is time? You know,
Time.
I keep getting younger. the calendar just keeps ticking. I don't know.
Told me, Hershey. And
Yeah.
your super cute real estate photos. I've already seen them.
No, stop.
I have. And then I think I'm going to switch just now into my darkest color, my chocolate peanut butter. And these get a little bit more linear as we go back. But our next batch that we do, our 2.0, these are gonna look very challenging, these
Oh,
paintings.
really?
They aren't, but it's because we have more time and because we have more colors. I am more than confident our subscribers can more than handle.
Oh, I love a project that looks daunting at first.
You're going to impress your friends.
And that's the real reason why I do all of this.
As if there'd be any other. All right, so I've got this in here. And I'm just gonna kind of check in with myself here. And yeah, I'm gonna second coat all of these. So I'm gonna come back in here. And they don't have to be perfect. I want to hit them again. It's not like you have to exactly trace back your, I just want to be a little bit more opaque.
This dog is hilarious.
Oh, sweet baby.
Like trying to get as close to me as possible. So he's got like
Oh,
his, yeah, you know.
Bosco.
I think you do a lot of the, the coloring, like which colors to use and which ones, to mix with and stuff like that. The when you like, let's say you're going off of a reference image, how do you find it difficult or easy to like look at that and go, okay, I'm going to put this color and this color together to make that face tone or whatever?
So that's a good question. And I'm doing it right now because, we do different colors every month and
Yeah.
I make decisions based on that. And if you go with light and shadow, if you go with the value and you kind of know what goes into that, you're going to get very close with the color. And that's kind of how I go. So you want to get the light and shadow best. And then from there, colors.
That makes sense.
Not quite as important.
Right.
If you're off with the light and shadow, you're going to be very off with the color.
Yeah, you're doing that right now. You're right. When you're making,
so, yep, we're making sure this is dark enough. Just like this. And then we're going to cross into the darker one back here. And this is just burnt umber, so I might actually, when I kind of third coat this, because that's how anal I'm going to get with how dark I want that edge to be. I might also do some of these strokes in the darkest color. We're right at the 8 o'clock mark. As always, we understand if you have something else to do. We're not going to be much longer though. But it's just going to be so nice to be able to be like, and we'll finish up next time. Like, I'll plan certain things for certain days, but
it's going to be difficult not to, because I've gotten so much in the habit of, even if most of the time I'm not finished with my painting when we finish, but I stay up into the night finishing it.
Yeah. Yep. And so you can still do that because you might stay up into the night, like finishing what we did that day.
Right. Okay, good.
Don't worry. I'll keep you up at night. All right, so that's that edge in the pure burnt umber. And I'm just going to kind of tap off some of these with that tone, so it's not the only place we have that color. The pure burnt umber.
Okay.
I kind of let that dry. And I'm going to hit some other areas while this dries. I'm going to come back into my clouds here. Kind of second coat these guys. Doing the white at the bottom.
This is beautiful.
Right, coming together.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with myself right now.
For a very organized painting. And if you remember, there's a little bit of blue in our white on top. For our late summer sky.
I have a cousin named Summer Sky.
Really?
Yep.
Summer Sky. Sky is her last name, or Sky?
No, her name is Summer Sky Owens.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so that looks good there. And the next thing I'm going to do, because I'm letting this edge dry. Well, first I'm just going to kind of even out as we watch our paint dry.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to do our starfish. And I can see my lines if you can't retransfer it.
Is that straight up white?
Straight up white.
Okie dokie.
Doesn't have to be if you'd rather do something else, but. It's kind of a chunky white. Like I'm leaving the
Texture.
it's the texture. And that's such a better way of putting that. Yes.
Mm. The beaches, like a beach photo, a beach painting, a beach anything is always so pretty. I wonder what that is, like why humans love to live by the water and why they love to like build crafts that go across the water. You know, like we just love.
Why is it undeniably glamorous? Like,
Yeah. The coasts are the most populated part of our country, you know?
so I'm putting in my starfish.
Right.
Just like that. And then I'm actually going to just take a little bit of the straight up burnt umber and kind of glaze that over this color underneath here. Just because I want this
That color underneath there, remind us all what that was one more time.
That was the burnt umber, more burnt umber than cerulean, like 2/3 burnt umber, 1/3 cerulean. It was the same thing that we used back here.
Yeah. That light, that little bit of blue added to the white for the tops of the clouds is really a great technique. That's
right. Just really subtle.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do it to the bottom of the clouds if the sun's over the clouds. But this is the morning.
Yes.
So, okay. Last, but certainly not least, I'm going to do this water edge. And if it bleeds a little bit into the brown, that's okay, because that's what it's doing. But I'm going to take some straight up white and just kind of hit this edge. I've let this brown dry, hopefully enough.
Kind of accentuating, putting a punctuation point right there on the waves.
Yes. And when I use like the pure white or I use the darkest darks, I kind of like to, unless I'm really going to emphasize one area, I kind of like to sort of have a progression. So we have the darkest dark here and the darkest dark here. We have some of the warm tone here and we added it to here. We hit white here, here, and here. So when you use colors that kind of have some passion, we'll say,
Ooh.
like kind of be strategic in how they move you through the painting. And it doesn't mean to use it 3 times. It just means you are aware of what they do. And where they're going. All right, just gonna kind of all right, so just looking to see what else it might need. I'm actually going to sort of second coat a few more of these of our noise, just because I've seen it dry.
We're at now.
I'm looking at some of these lighter tones in here in the noise of our beach. So I'm gonna kind of second coat some of these. And that's kind of why again back to we're gonna do it for 2 nights now instead of 1. So we still meet the same amount of times. We're just not gonna do as many other activities. And I'm just like, I don't do all of my paintings in an hour tops. Like,
yeah,
I let them dry. I kind of look at them. I figure them out. We have a whole month.
it was like painting boot camp. This really kind of caught us up. It was like, all right, now we're ready to jump into something different.
If you wanted to paint if you want to learn how to paint, this was this is a good 8 months.
Right, exactly.
And I say you, Hershey Patty, are the proof in the pudding there.
No joke.
Since you hadn't painted really at all before this, right?
Not all ever. Like, I mean, water. I mean, I think I bought watercolors, paint by number sets at the dollar store and did that.
You're like, that looks like a fun way to spend a day. Yeah. And
yeah. Just the other day, I ran into somebody who said they knew me. And I was like, oh, and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of you or whatever. And I said, and we realized that our mutual friend, because they recognized my name, and they go, you're an artist, right? And I was like, I am.
I am. And that is the only appropriate answer.
That's what people say about me.
Yeah. I'm gonna put some of this in between. Through here.
Ruth said, I'm great. She's the sweetest. Thank you, Ruth.
The sweetest. However you want to do this. Obviously, this is what our approach to the sand was. If you have a different approach to how you want to make some kind of dimples in the sand.
I love your approach. I think the sand looks so cool.
It's just kind of, it could be stones. It doesn't really matter because it's just kind of how we're approaching how the beach looks this day.
And the cloud, I mean, the little bit of blue on top of the clouds in the morning and on bottom of the clouds at night. I mean, or at evening, that's such a cool little trick.
When you figure out that it's so like, thanks, Captain Obvious, but I didn't know it either.
Didn't know it. Yeah.
We're like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course that's what it is. All right. Well, the only thing I might do is second coat the starfish just because it's in the foreground and I really want it to pop. And then I think we're kind of done.
Righty. This is where I'm at. Since I promised I'd show everybody my art before we go. I still need to do the starfish and the ocean waves, but I think I did a really good job on the sand. Thank you.
That's a good job on the sand. And sometimes the order of operations really matters to just how you're doing the painting. In this instance, it mattered because I was letting things dry. So you don't necessarily, especially if you let this dry, you don't
Right.
necessarily have to do this in the same order.
I was like trying to catch up, but then listening to you and also hearing things, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is important. And so then I'd switch brushes and I move it down.
All right, so I'm second cut of the starfish here.
And is that starfish? It's going to stay just the straight up white?
That's kind of how I did it. Yeah, I kind of kept the strokes kind of pointing towards the center so that the texture sort of just on the starfish kind of told the story.
You know, that's what I saw was the stroke texture. Okay, got you.
Yeah, I mean, it's
genius. Less is more sometimes.
Well, especially in this one. We went a little more graphic this month. I was looking forward to saving these kind of for the end. I might just go reinforce the edge of this wave one more time. But as I watch paint dry. But yeah, we've done so much with rendering and different techniques.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun to just sort of be like, and sometimes it's really fun to work really cleanly. And I think the Protea, we really got into kind of the brush strokes plus the stylized nature. I feel like this is almost computer graphic. Like it's painted, which is awesome, but we've got some really clean lines.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. I can do that.
Yeah, there's a richness to it because it's painted, but all right, I think that's where I leave you. This was our last painting of this month. We're gonna do some fun stuff next week.
How very exciting.
Very exciting. Are there any more announcements?
Thank you, Ruth, for that reminder. The template challenge is just to show us what you're painting.
Yes. I'm gonna go ahead and sign this guy.
How do you sign that? You just dip it, you like sharpen a brush and go for it?
Yeah, I don't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
Here's the short answer. This is what you're gonna get. And looks a little different every time. My signature is kind of a squiggle, so
yeah.
So there's that. We will see you next week for some fun stuff. And yeah, be thinking about anyone you'd like to refer us to. Our 2.0 series we're insanely proud of. And
I want to say too, because next month doesn't have a box, like that's a really great month to tell everybody about Time for Art, have them join us, because we're just going to be,
yeah, selling the October box. And there's no price change. But it's a really cool, that's actually not true. If we're going to have some pricing that breaks out for like 3 months and 6 months, that's kind of if you just want to subscribe for a little while, we're going to have an option for that too. But cool. If you're a monthly subscriber, that price doesn't change.
Awesome. All right, Al, thank you very much. And thank you everybody out there for joining us.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.